Is this your first day, or are you just lost? The voice was sugar-coated with mockery, slicing through the hallway, buzzed like a blade through silk. Amara didn't flinch. She paused mid-step, her gaze locked onto the blonde girl blocking her path. Chelsea, the undisputed queen of hallway drama. Within the first 5 seconds, every student nearby sensed the shift in the air. Eyes flicked over, ears perked. Something was about to go down. Amara Walker had only transferred to McKinley High that morning. No introductions, no tour, no warm welcome. Just a cheap laminated schedule, a map, and a warning from the school counselor to stay out of trouble. She had heard it all before. Tall and silent with neat braids cascading down her back, Amara walked like someone who knew her own weight, who had danced with pain before and come out stronger. She didn't talk much, and that alone made her a target. Chelsea, backed by her loyal crew, Maddie with her sarcastic laugh, and Tyler, the jock who loved picking on freshmen, saw her as the perfect new chew toy. New kids were easy prey. New black girls who didn't speak unless necessary? Even easier. What's that on your shirt? Chelsea mocked, pointing to an imaginary stain. Amara kept her eyes steady. Nothing. Just ignorance. Gasps. Laughter. A few students hooped in the background. Tyler leaned in, pointing. Oh, she got you, Chels. Chelsea's face hardened. She wasn't used to pushback, especially not from someone who didn't even try to fit in. You think you're tough? Chelsea said, stepping closer, her voice lowering to a venomous whisper. You won't last a week here, Jungle Barbie. There it was. The racial jab. Subtle to some, sharp as a knife to Amara. Amara's chest rose with a slow breath. She wasn't going to throw a punch. Not yet. She remembered her promise to her mom. No fighting, no headlines, no more transfers. But she didn't need fists to strike. She stepped forward, closing the gap between her and Chelsea until only inches separated them. Her voice was low, calm, dangerous. I've been through worse than you in one school day. You think I care about what a mean girl with fragile confidence thinks of me? Chelsea blinked. Maddie's giggle stalled. Even Tyler shifted his weight awkwardly. The bell rang. Amara turned and walked away without another word. But she left a trail of tension behind her, as if a storm had brushed through the hallway and everyone could still smell the ozone. That night, Amara sat alone at the dinner table in her aunt's small apartment. Her Aunt Clara poured tea and raised an eyebrow. No fights. None, Amara said, sipping. But I might have made some enemies. Clara smiled. Enemies are just fans who haven't figured it out yet. They laughed. The warmth was brief but grounding. Meanwhile, at school, Chelsea stewed. In her mind, she was already plotting. The new girl had embarrassed her, in front of Tyler, in front of everyone. That wouldn't go unanswered. The next day, Amara found her locker spray painted with the word trash in red marker. Someone had dumped yogurt into her backpack. She didn't flinch. She calmly wiped it up, changed out her notebooks, and walked to class like nothing had happened. But the fire was building. In second period, the teacher asked for volunteers to partner up for a history project. No one moved. Everyone just stared at Amara. Guess she'll be doing it alone, someone whispered. Guess I'll get an A alone then. Amara replied without missing a beat. That line echoed in the classroom like a challenge. Some students smirked. Others glanced at her with new eyes, but not Chelsea. Chelsea was furious. She was losing grip. This girl wasn't breaking down. She was rising. At lunch, the cafeteria was a jungle of noise and motion. Amara carried her tray with silent dignity, finding an empty table at the back. As soon as she sat, Chelsea's gang surrounded her. Wrong seat, Tyler sneered. Wrong school, Maddie added. Chelsea grabbed the edge of Amara's tray and slowly began tipping it. Everyone watched. That was the moment. The tray teetered. For a heartbeat, the entire cafeteria seemed to hold its breath. Milk sloshed against the edges, spaghetti wobbled in its compartment, and Amara's hand remained perfectly still beneath it. Her eyes met Chelsea's. No, Amara said firmly. Not loud, but enough. Chelsea smirked. No. She gave the tray a final jerk, just enough to spill a wave of marinara sauce across the table, splattering Amara's shirt and books. The cafeteria erupted in half gasps and stifled laughter. Amara stood slowly. Every muscle in her frame was tense, her jaw clenched with restraint. She looked down at her ruined books, her stained shirt, her dignity dripping in red sauce. Then, With a breath that felt like it could split the room, she raised her gaze. I warned you once, she said softly. You don't want to find out what happens next. Tyler chuckled. Is that a threat, new girl? No, she said, wiping sauce off her forearm with a napkin. It's a fact. Chelsea leaned in, her voice low and taunting. What are you going to do? Call your mommy. The smirk on her face froze the moment Amara moved. She didn't punch. She didn't shove. She pivoted, fast and precise, and used her leg to hook the back of Chelsea's knee in one fluid motion. It was a grappling technique, subtle and elegant, designed not to cause injury but to humiliate. Chelsea toppled backward into a chair, which then skidded and tipped over. She landed on her butt, hard, in the middle of the floor. Silence, then gasps. Phones emerged from backpacks like weapons. Clicks. Recordings. Amara didn't flinch. She stood still, breathing steadily. Chelsea's eyes were wide with shock. She scrambled up, her face beet red, hair tangled, voice trembling with rage. You're dead. She lunged, but Amara sidestepped and caught Chelsea's wrist, redirecting her momentum. The crowd barely saw it happen. One twist, one movement, and Chelsea spun off balance and landed face first into a lunch table. Boom. Now the room was chaos. A teacher burst in. Enough. What is going on here? Dozens of students pointed. Some at Amara, others at Chelsea. She started it. No, the new girl defended herself. She dumped food on her. That girl's a ninja. Phones were already uploading clips. A few students whispered, check TikTok, it's already trending. The assistant principal arrived next. Then security. Amara didn't resist. She raised her hands calmly and allowed herself to be escorted to the office. Chelsea was taken separately, crying and furious. In the office, Amara sat with perfect posture. Her aunt, Clara, was called from work. The administrator, Ms. Reynolds, looked serious. Amara, this is a very serious matter. We have multiple witnesses saying you used physical force on another student. She assaulted me first, Amara said evenly. We have footage, Ms. Reynolds continued. But it seems to tell a more complicated story. May I speak? Clara said, entering the room with her coat barely off. Ms. Reynolds nodded. My niece is trained in jiu-jitsu and self-defense, Clara explained. She's competed across state lines. She doesn't throw punches. She redirects energy. She has discipline and control. If she had really fought, that girl would be in the hospital, not on the floor with hurt pride. Ms. Reynolds blinked. I see. She's not violent, Clara added. But she is prepared, especially when targeted. There was a long pause. Ms. Reynolds sighed. Amara, we'll be reviewing the footage and speaking with the others. But from what I see, your restraint was impressive. You may be suspended, or you may not. We'll notify you by tomorrow. Amara nodded. That night, Clara and Amara sat on the couch, pizza between them, the TV glowing in the background. Did you want to fight? Clara asked. No, Amara replied. But I needed them to know. I'm not going to let them define me. They know now, Clara said, raising a slice. Oh, they know. Meanwhile, at school, something shifted. Chelsea stayed home the next day. Students whispered Amara's name with a mix of fear and admiration. A few even approached her in the halls, asking quietly, Hey, can you teach me how to move like that? She became more than the new girl. She became a story, a symbol, a warning. But Amara didn't crave popularity, she just wanted peace. By the time Amara returned home that afternoon, she was already a viral name. Her Aunt Clara was on the porch, phone in hand, mouth slightly agape. Is this you? She asked, turning the screen toward Amara. There it was. A video paused mid-frame. Amara's face calm, one hand extended as Chelsea stumbled midair. The caption read, New girl destroys mean girl with one move, epic. Views, 874,000 and rising. Comments poured in, she's not new. She's a legend. I need her to teach me that. Chelsea got served. Amara blinked. That was fast. It's been 3 hours, Clara replied, both impressed and worried. You might want to avoid TikTok for a bit. But the internet didn't wait for permission. Her inbox flooded. Her school email, never used before, now buzzed with messages. Some were cruel. Most were celebratory. Several were from strangers begging for interviews. And at school, the next morning, Amara stepped off the bus to a crowd. Not a mob, but a mix of curious students, silent stares, and awkward waves. A few whispered her name. One girl mouthed, "You're awesome." Amara ignored them. She wasn't interested in fame. She just wanted to survive the semester without another transfer. But peace wouldn't come easily. Chelsea had returned. And something had changed. She walked through the halls with a forced smile, flanked by fewer friends. No more taunts. No more ambushes. Just simmering resentment behind a polished mask. At lunch, Amara sat alone again. But not for long. A quiet voice piped up. "Hey, is this seat taken?" She looked up to see a girl, Latina, bookish, oversized glasses, clutching a tray. "I'm Maya," she said. "I used to sit with Chelsea. But I'm kind of done with that crowd." Amara nodded once. Maya sat down. A moment later, another voice. "Mind if I join too?" It was a tall boy, brown-skinned, soft-spoken, with a backpack decorated in pins. His name was Darius. "Big fan," he said awkwardly. Amara raised an eyebrow. "Of the way you flipped her like a pancake," he said, grinning. She tried not to laugh, but failed. By the end of lunch, 5 new students had sat with her. Not fans, just people. Curious, kind, and cautious. Still, not everyone was cheering her on. In fourth period, a note was slipped onto her desk. No name, just scribbled words. "You think you're a hero? You're just a freak with fists." Amara crushed the note and didn't flinch. But inside, she felt the tremble. That night, Clara sat with her on the porch. "You okay?" she asked. Amara hesitated. "I don't like the attention. I didn't come here to be a headline." Clara sipped her tea. "Then what did you come here for?" "To finish school. To stay out of trouble. To make Mom proud." "She'd be proud," Clara said softly. "Not because you fought, but because you stood your ground." Amara nodded. Clara added, "You know, standing up for yourself isn't the same as causing trouble. Sometimes silence is trouble." The next day, Amara was called to the principal's office again. Ms. Reynolds sat waiting, along with another woman, a visitor. She wore a navy suit, a school district badge, and a polite smile. "Amara," Ms. Reynolds began. "This is Ms. Green, from the district's student mediation program." Amara tensed. "Relax," Ms. Green said. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm here because what happened has become bigger than your school." Amara's eyes narrowed. "You mean the video?" Ms. Green nodded. "We've had students across the city asking about self-defense training, about emotional resilience. Your names come up in 3 assemblies." Amara said nothing. Ms. Green leaned in. "We'd like to invite you to speak at a school next week. No pressure. Just share your story. I'm not a public speaker." "You didn't have to speak to make your story loud," Ms. Green said. "You showed it." Amara didn't answer. She stood up, thanked them, and left. But the seed was planted. That evening, Clara found her at the kitchen table, scribbling notes. "You're going to do it?" she asked. Amara looked up. "I think so." Clara smiled. "Good. But remember, don't let this become them telling your story. You tell it your way." Amara nodded, because deep down, she knew this wasn't just about one cafeteria moment. It was about every moment before that. Every time she was told to sit down, shut up, stay small. Not anymore. By Friday, Amara's face had appeared on 4 different school newsletters, 2 morning announcements, and 1 viral meme titled "The Calm Before the Kick." But inside, she felt anything but calm, because while the noise around her grew louder, videos, whispers, side glances, something else was quietly building. Guilt. Not for what she did, but for what it had become. The fame, the applause, the jokes, it all missed the point. They didn't see her bruised past, the late nights after her father left, or the fights she didn't start but couldn't walk away from. They saw entertainment. And that, somehow, felt worse. When she stepped onto the stage that next Monday, in front of 200 students at Lincoln Middle School, her first ever speaking event. Her hands were sweating. Ms. Green from the district smiled reassuringly from the side. "Just be honest." Amara stood tall. The auditorium lights warmed her face. Microphone in hand, she scanned the room. 0.5 seconds. "Hook first," she reminded herself. "They'll judge you fast." She opened with a truth. "I'm not a hero. I didn't come here to be your viral clip." Silence. "But I do know what it's like to feel invisible until someone decides you're a threat." The room shifted. Ears perked. "I've been the new girl 6 times in 4 years. I've walked into schools where I didn't look like anyone else, sound like anyone else, or act like they expected me to. A murmur of recognition rippled through the crowd. I don't fight because I want to hurt anyone. I fight because people keep putting me in situations where not fighting feels like surrender. She paused, and honestly, I'm tired. One teacher in the back wiped her eye. I want to live in a world where girls like me don't have to become viral to be seen, where we don't have to throw someone down to be heard. The room fell silent again, but this time with weight, not awkwardness. I'm learning that my strength isn't just in my body. It's in my choices. And sometimes, choosing not to fight is the hardest thing to do. She ended with no dramatic gesture. Just a quiet, thank you. The applause was slow at first, but then it swelled. And it wasn't the kind of clapping you give out of politeness. It was raw, real. Afterward, 3 girls approached her. One wore a hoodie too big for her frame, hiding bruises under the sleeves. Thank you, she whispered. You said what I never could. And that meant more than 1,000,000 views ever could. Back at school, Chelsea had been quiet, too quiet. Amara kept her guard up. She noticed the way Chelsea lingered near her locker without speaking, or how she'd suddenly stop talking when Amara walked by. It wasn't over, and Amara knew it. Until one day, something unexpected happened. A folded note appeared in Amara's locker. Not threatening, not mocking, just 4 words, written in neat, sharp letters. Can we talk? See. Amara stared at it for a full minute. Clara, that night, raised an eyebrow. You gonna meet her? I don't know, Amara admitted. What if it's a trap? What if it's a turning point? So she went. They met behind the gym after school. No cameras, no crowd, just 2 girls, once enemies, now unsure what came next. Chelsea leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Her face was unreadable. I don't know how to say this, she began. Try honesty, Amara said. Chelsea nodded, exhaled. I was wrong. That caught Amara off guard. I let my ego and my friends do the talking. You showed up and didn't play by our rules. And instead of respecting that, I tried to tear you down. Because I was black? Amara asked, not accusing, just naming. Chelsea flinched. Partly, but also because you didn't shrink. That landed harder. Chelsea continued. I've been the top girl for so long. I didn't know who I was without people following me. You made me realize I've been a coward. Amara folded her arms. So now what? We pretend it never happened. No, Chelsea said. I don't want that. I want to change. But I know I can't ask for your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I see you now. Really see you. Silence hung between them. Then Amara said, I don't trust you. Not yet. But maybe someday. Chelsea nodded. That's fair. They parted without a handshake. Without a smile. But it was a start. By the next week, Amara had spoken at 3 different schools. Each one brought new faces, new fears, and new stories. Some students waited in line just to say, me too. Others asked if she could come back. One girl clutched Amara's hand and said, you made me want to try again. But the biggest shift was at McKinley High. Amara had gone from invisible to unavoidable. Teachers asked her to help lead peer support sessions. The counselor invited her to join a student wellness panel. And Ms. Reynolds, the principal, began introducing her at assemblies as an example of strength and voice. Still, not all eyes were kind. One afternoon in chemistry class, Amara heard the unmistakable hiss of Chelsea's voice. She's just pretending. It's all an act. It wasn't said directly to her, but it was meant to be heard. Amara didn't bite. She had learned that silence, when held with power, was sometimes louder than any punch. After class, as students filed out, Chelsea lingered by the window. Amara walked by, expecting the usual tension, but Chelsea said something unexpected. You're stronger than me. That's why I hate you. Amara paused. You don't have to. Chelsea looked down. I don't know who I am if I'm not in control. You can still be in control, Amara replied. Just of yourself. Chelsea laughed once, sadly. That sounds easy when you're you. No, Amara said. It sounds easy when people only see the parts they want to see. Chelsea finally looked up, her voice softer. I used to think being the queen bee made me powerful. But you? You didn't even try, and you changed everything. I didn't change anything, Amara said. I just stopped running. Chelsea nodded slowly. Maybe it's time I did the same. That evening, Amara found herself staring at an old photograph, one from before all this. Her and her mom. Before cancer took her. Before the moves. Before the weight of being this strong black girl became a full-time job, she whispered, "You'd be proud, right?" And for the first time in weeks, the tears came, not out of weakness, but release. The next morning, Clara found her sketching in a notebook. "What's that?" she asked. "A flyer," Amara said. "I'm starting something. A weekly space for students, anyone. No rules, just truth." Clara smiled. "You're turning your story into shelter." That Friday, the quiet room opened. Just a corner of the library, a few chairs. A box for anonymous letters. No teachers. No phones. The first week, only 2 students came. The second week, 9 by the end of the month, it was standing room only. Some cried. Some laughed. Most just listened. And Amara? She didn't lead with lectures. She just Saturday and made space. One afternoon, Tyler, the same boy who laughed at her that first day, walked in. He didn't speak, just sat in the back, hood up. After the session, he approached her. "I'm not here to apologize," he said bluntly. "Okay," Amara said. I didn't get it. Back then. And now, I'm starting to." Then he left. That was enough. Because Amara had realized something. She wasn't just the girl who tripped Chelsea. She was the girl who stood back up, again and again. Not to fight, but to be be seen to let others be seen to create a world where the next Amara wouldn't need to go viral to be valued. Where a girl could walk into school and know, truly know, she wasn't alone. It started with a single email. "Hi Amara, I'm the principal at Jefferson Middle. Our students saw your video and heard about your quiet room. Could we talk?" Then came another, and another. Within a month, Amara had spoken at 5 different schools and received invitations from 12 more. But she wasn't doing it for fame anymore. She was doing it because every room she stepped into had at least one girl who wouldn't meet her eyes. One boy who sat with clenched fists. One teacher who said, "We've never seen them speak until today." The quiet room model was being copied. Other schools began setting up versions of it, calling them circles of courage, truth corners, or simply Amara space. It became something bigger than her, but with growth came pressure. The district's education board invited her to speak at a televised town hall. Clara encouraged her, but Amara hesitated. "I'm not ready for cameras and politics," she said. "Then don't give them what they want," Clara replied. "Give them what they need." So she did. She stood at the microphone in front of hundreds, teachers, administrators, reporters, and students. "I'm not here to fix your schools," she said, voice steady. "I'm here to remind you that you forgot to listen." The audience froze. Too many of us spend more time learning how to survive bullies than learning math. Too many are punished for defending themselves, while the ones who provoke are called misunderstood. Too many girls like me are told to calm down, sit still, be nice. And we do, until we can't anymore. She looked up. "You want to know what's wrong with schools? They reward silence and punish reaction. They celebrate the loudest winners and forget the quiet survivors." Applause thundered. Some stood. Others cried. That speech was replayed across social media. News anchors debated it. Even state officials quoted her. But Amara stayed grounded. She still took the bus, still helped Clara with groceries, still showed up at the quiet room each Friday like clockwork. And one Friday, something happened that stopped her cold. Chelsea walked in. No announcement. No stairs. No drama. She just took a seat at the edge of the circle. Waited. When her turn came, she stood. "I used to be a hurricane," she said. "Loud. Destructive. Unstoppable. But hurricanes always leave damage. And I've spent the last few months learning how to clean up what I broke." The room listened, silent. "I hurt people because I was hurting. I pushed people down so I wouldn't feel how small I really was." And then one day, someone stood up, not to fight me, but to face me. She turned toward Amara. Not directly, just enough. And I realized power doesn't come from fear. It comes from choice. And the strongest thing I've ever seen was someone who didn't flinch when the whole room wanted her to. Then she sat down. Nobody clapped. Nobody needed to. After the session, as people filtered out, Amara walked over. "You meant that?" Chelsea nodded. Every word. Amara exhaled. "Then maybe we can build something new." Chelsea smiled. "I'd like that." They didn't become best friends, but they became co-founders. Together, they started a podcast, The Other Side of the Story. Each episode, they invited guests, students, teachers, even janitors, to share a time when they felt invisible afraid, or misunderstood that IT was raw. It was real, and it went viral because the world was hungry for truth told plainly. Meanwhile, Amara began training in public speaking. She led self-defense workshops on weekends, not to teach kids how to fight, but when not to. And through it all, she stayed humbled. At AT graduation, she didn't get valedictorian. She didn't need to. She got something more lasting, a standing ovation from the entire student body. Even the teachers stood. Even Tyler wiped a tear. As she walked across the stage, Clara shouted from the back, "That's my girl." Amara grinned, not because she made it to the stage, but because she made it through the silence, the stares, the stereotypes. She made it through without losing who she was. And as the sun set on that school year, one thing was clear. She was never just the girl who could fight. She was the girl who changed the fight. 2 years later, Amara stood in a gymnasium she'd never seen before, beneath a banner that read, "Voices Rising. Youth Conference for Equity and Courage." She had just finished a panel with 4 other students, each one leading programs inspired by the quiet room. One of them, a boy from Utah, said, "We started with nothing, just folding chairs. Now we have a full-time counselor attending every session." Another, a girl from Oakland, added, "We called ours Brave Space. We even got funding, all because we saw a clip of Amara." Amara didn't say much. She didn't need to. She had become the proof. The walking testimony that one moment, one act of courage, could ripple beyond the walls of any school. After the session, she walked to the hallway to take a breath. That a young girl approached, no older than 13. Her eyes shimmered with tears. "You're her, right? The girl who flipped the bully." Amara smiled. "That was a long time ago. But that video saved me. My brother used to make fun of me because I didn't fight back. Then he saw you, and he changed. He even started protecting me." Amara knelt, gently touching the girl's shoulder. "You saved yourself. I just showed up." The girl hugged her, and in that quiet moment, all the noise, the speeches, the applause, the headlines, faded. To IT was never about being viral. IT was about being visible. That night, in her dorm room back at college, Amara looked at her wall. There were no trophies, no medals, just one framed note. A printed screenshot of a message from her mom years ago, before she passed. "You were born with fire in your bones. Don't waste it proving them wrong. Use it to lift someone up." She whispered, "I am, Mama." Back at McKinley High, a new student entered the building. Nervous, quiet, different. But this time, they were welcomed by a poster near the entrance. "Feeling unheard? Come to the quiet room. Fridays. Everyone matters. No exceptions." Inside that room, students sat in a circle. At the center, a copy of Amara's speech was pinned to the corkboard. One line was underlined in bold. "I'm not here to fix your school. I'm here to remind you to listen." Chelsea was now a peer mentor. She still made mistakes, but she owned them. She often told the new students, "You don't need to be perfect, just present." As for Amara, she continued to write, speak, train, not to become famous, but because somewhere, always, there was another hallway, another lunch table, another girl walking in alone, and she wanted that girl to know, someone walked before you. Someone made room.